Undoubtedly, H2k, the crowd favorites here at the IEM Katowice World Championships, live in the Spodek Arena. We are gearing up for this second game of the series where H2k could potentially make it an all-EU final, but let's not count the Flash Wolves out. We have seen what they are capable of, and they can definitely pull that out in this next game. Guys, we're going to reset. We're going to head to the next draft phase. What is it that you would like to see from either team to either help H2k solidify or help Flash Wolves with a comeback?
I think the Varus really needs to be addressed here. The Shen, I don't think is nearly as important as they're making it out to be. It's such a top-tier pick, and when you're not even trading the Jhin, which is considered the tier below Varus, you're really losing a lot of the kind of ability to engage. His poke is just so potent that if you're not picking heavy engage, forget about it.
The thing is, I'm looking at this Tahm Kench pick, and I'm thinking, the main reason you're going to pick Ashe is because you want high pushing power in bottom. You can set it for picks later on. So I think the Flash Wolves should stick to what they know and stick for something like a Karma.
Well, here we go. Shen, Malzahar, LeBlanc, Rengar all off the table, as is Jace. Flash Wolves rounding out their first 3 bans. H2k now have that final look in, and Varus could be on the cards, like you said, Crumbs. That seemed to be super impactful for H2k last time.
Because now you're looking at a potential, we're going to leave Camille open.
Right.
And in the LMS in particular, they actually have a habit of leaving that top laner open because there's not that huge amount of value on it. And I wonder if H2k are going to issue the challenge and say, hey, you know what? Well, let's see how well you can play it. Remember that Shen is one of the most common counter picks into it. Poppy is another one that Odoamne is familiar with. So I think that H2k are prepared for the Camille pick to come through.
See, people haven't put, even when Camille hasn't gone through bans, people really haven't been picking her up that much towards the latter half of this tournament.
Especially the LMS.
Yeah, especially from the LMS. I mean, one of the major things that we talked about from the LMS was that she has the lowest presence out of any region in the LMS, Camille, so we don't often see her. Looks like Jhin is going to be the first pickup now for Flash Wolves. They're going to strive away from that Ashe.
There we go. The Jhin's a little bit better when you're looking for engage. Not only do you have your deadly flourish, 4 shots of your curtain call help a lot more than arrows that just completely miss.
Well, there you go. I mean,
no, he missed a lot of arrows. If you build Essence Reaver, you gotta fire arrows. Also, 50-minute Infinity Edge. Come on, man. Don't finish your Mercurial Scepter before you get Infinity Edge.
Looks like H2k are going to follow in the steps of G2 and are fairly happy to lock in the early Sivir here.
I think this is the most fascinating thing that we've seen throughout the tournament with the difference in priority between Eastern and Western teams when it comes to Sivir versus Ashe, right? Europe will always say, oh, the next tier down has to be the Sivir because she offers a great team fight engage. She scales very nicely in terms of team fight damage. Yes, she's pretty low range, but what she offers in the mid to late game is far more than what Ashe has to offer. And she has the early lane pushing power, which Ashe doesn't necessarily have if she doesn't have the right support. So it's fascinating to see these differences in priority.
Here we go, Karma, finally, someone has touched base and taken Karma off the table. Looks like Maokai was the response, by the way, in terms of the second lock-in for Odoamne, very similar to what we've seen from G2 as well. Syndra immediately locked in, and now Forbidden is looking into his own mid lane pick potentially, but we won't talk about it until it gets locked in.
Previously played by Maple, 1 game on the Syndra against the Unicorns of Love, just all around really strong pick, and it offers more engage tools. And it's a pick that, unlike the Orianna, again, does not rely on your team for setup. He can get his own engages with his Scatter the Weak. You can one-shot anybody that oversteps, and the Ivern will be issued in response. So we're going to have to get H2k a lot of winning lanes for this pick to work.
And we've seen Jankos play the Ivern, and when he played it and had that early game presence, he was a good, a dominant force in that game. It's just whether Karsa is able to punish him. And look, we talked about Karsa. He didn't have an amazing game last game. I think H2k did a really good job of thwarting his attempts to be early aggressive, but he can punish an Ivern. He is the caliber of jungler that can do that kind of move.
The question is, what jungler is he going to do it with? Because now H2k, they have the freedom to ban away a lot of the powerhouse early picks. Lee Sin and Elise likely to be taken off the board. Karsa does have a very deep jungle pool, and I think the priority for H2k is, you know what? We've seen that between the two of us, we clearly go to late game, so we picked a jungler that scales nicely into the later game, and let's deny any of these early jungle picks.
And this could be very much a game like Game 3 of G2 versus Rock's Tigers, where they had the exact same 3 picks of Ivern, Maokai, Sivir. You have the Orianna as your potential pick into Syndra, even though it's not the most fantastic matchup. When it comes down to grouping up as 5, it offers all of the engage tools for H2k, and I think that's what they're going for. They want to be in control of who's making plays.
Kha'Zix gets locked out here, so it was either going to be the Kha'Zix or Elise, you'd have to reckon, and it looks like H2k are going to lock the Kha'Zix out here. leaving Flash with the final ban. By the way, I'm going to play a small game with myself during this game and see how many times Crumbs says "Smite Daisy" throughout this game.
What do you think, Crumbs, about a possible Corki lock-in for H2k here? Because I'm thinking that I don't think it's the optimal pick for H2k. I would much rather an Orianna. I think it makes more sense in the composition, but it's definitely a safe pick into this.
I actually much prefer the Corki right now as you bring it up, just because that's
Nautilus support, yeah.
So the Corki just offers a little bit more reliable, consistent DPS as opposed to the Orianna that can't just get bursted. You have a nice laning phase into the Syndra, but because you have triple supports, you want to make the most out of this. If you're expecting to hit late game, make sure you've got 2 AD carries, and there's no better way to ensure that composition will work if you have those two guys, as opposed to the Orianna that maybe gets popped, too much magic damage.
So, still potentially having a look in at the Graves here for Karsa. Nearly popped for Bivin early on, and for Bivin had those dancing shoes on that allowed her to dodge that Graves ultimate. And it looks like the final pickup is hovering Poppy, but we'll have to wait until that gets confirmed and selected here.
The reason why I also think the Nautilus is a good pick is because into these low mobility bottom lanes, in the sense that they have no natural escapes, Nautilus is great for locking them down with his natural CC. He can help push the wave with Sivir, and he denies it away from the Maokai.
Echo has been locked in, Vedius.
Oh, fascinating.
This is going to be an Echo top, you would imagine here.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's definitely an Echo top.
Where does this roll in? Where is this sort of lodging into the Flash Wolves?
If you think back to European Challenger Series, last time we saw an Echo top actually went full AP. And it worked very nicely into the Maokai, acted as a secondary damage threat. He spiked much earlier, which made it difficult for the Maokai to deal with. And when you look at the damage threats on the side of Flash Wolves, they have quite a few.
They do have quite a few. There is multiple damage threats all across the board here for Flash Wolves, and it's going to be the Rise lock-in for Bivin right at the end of this draft phase. Gentlemen, going to get you to do a very quick prediction and roundup here.
Actually, if you take what we learned from game 1, these teams relatively indecisive in making things happen. Games hit late game. H2k's got 4 tanks and a Sivir. I'm going with them this time.
I'm just going to appease the crowd. I'm going to say H2k, and they're going to take it 2-0.
You didn't even give a reason.
It's going to be H2KO. I'm not even going to give you time to give a reason. I'm sorry. Going to give a quick shout out to our partner here before we hand over to the casters, The Score Esports. If you want to keep up with all the live scores, news and updates, you can catch them on iOS, Android, the website, thescoreesports.com, and their YouTube channel. Now, going to hand it over to, well, maybe I can call them remarkably capable this time round, and they'll let me say it. Froscurian and Dracos, take it away.
I was worried there for a moment, X-Scoundrel. Hesitation came through in the voice, just a little bit. Of course, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to get into game 2. We could see H2k play a cleaner game than they've ever played before. So far, the series has looked good for them.
And this is kind of my issue with H2k. Yes, they won. We should congratulate that. We have the opportunity. You know, the cards are on the table. We could have an all-EU final if they win here. But I feel like they consistently put themselves in these scenarios where it's high reward, low risk, or even medium risk. And they don't pull the trigger on it. You know, that hesitation, the fact that we went to 63 minutes. I want to see them be a bit more decisive this game. They do have the benefit of already having game 1 in their back pocket. So they have the authority and the privilege to showcase their abilities on this stage now.
This is it. Teams have loaded up. We are ready now to get into the game. Flash Wolves now on the blue side, H2k now on the red. Will it be slow and steady? Will it be an absolute bloodbath? You heard it from Crumbs, you heard it from the analyst desk. If this goes late, it's 4 tanks, it's a Sivir. May just be that 500 CS win condition.
And that's about, you know, who gets their way. Do we have a quick game because Flash Wolves get their way because they've got 5 damage threats across their composition right now that they're able to just snowball, make things happen, get that early vision control that Karsa and Sword Art are so good at exploiting? Or do we get that slower pace game? H2k, they've got the Maokai, the Rise, the Sivir, all of these champions are known for that late scaling 5v5 composition.
And this is interesting, because you bring up the damage threats, and it's been a long time since I have seen an Echo in the top lane. What can we expect from this champion? I've heard people have been building Proto Belt still on him as a top laner. It's no longer the tank Echo of days past.
But he still kind of gets that superficial tankiness due to his Chrono Break. But hold on.
Nuclear, exhaust goes down. He's going to have to flash and heal out of that one.
And that's not really how you want to start. Your lane phase.
Betty. Ooh.
That's rude.
Edge of the tower range there. Yes, a little disrespectful. Betty
And Sword Art also chasing Jay all the way back around. So it will be a initial wave priority given to Flash Wolves. Betty and Sword Art still being very punishing.
Karsa's just starting in the enemy jungle. It looks like they're going to divide them. It feels very lane swap-esque the way we're now dividing the jungle, but Jankos is going to move over. Probably try to steal the red buff away.
And you have to think that even with that cute start from Karsa and very punishing, that Jankos will still be able to keep up with it just because of the clear speed of Ivern due to how his smite works with his passive.
Moving forward in the mid lane. Fev been staying wide. Karsa moving in and threatening at least a little bit here. Level 2 picks up. Jankos taking a trip down to the bottom side of the map, but not actually going to get spotted out by that little bit of vision. So no clear indication of what his pathing has been thus far. Quick level 2 for MMD gives him the favor, and right now lanes seem to be very much favorable for the Flash Wolves overall. Maple struggling a little bit in the mid lane, but bot lane very clearly pushing in, and MMD doing the same.
And again, kind of back to this Echo in the top lane. Like Betty has said, normally we see more of the AP burst Echo, actually kind of losing the trade in the end at that point. But he gets that superficial tankiness because he has the Chrono Break, and that's really all Flash Wolves have, is now bottom lane.
Nice engage on. Jay looking for the staggering blow. A little bit too slow there.
Walking in a straight line.
That's those moments in the early game that we just so rarely see, where it's the difference of 5 movement speed. Karsa.
Actually losing his blue buff there. So Karsa, when all is said and done, only gets the enemy red buff.
Taking away the prepped camp from me, because that may disrupt a little bit of the pathing there, but not really going to be a huge issue. Caution Pigs coming out. MMD tempted to go try to counter jungle, but they're not going to give him the opportunity.
Will Karsa get crazy here, though? Diving this tower, this could be incredibly risky if it's not beautifully executed here.
Now Sword Art gets locked up. That's not quite the execution they want, but Nuclear's in trouble. That's decent damage. Karsa going forward, but he's exhausted. He's under the tower. That's disaster! Chain moves forward.
And a huge misstep from Karsa. We've seen Graves time and time again this tournament. They look for the dive right there. You saw Nuclear, he didn't need to use the tower to block because it was a perfect exhaust from Che, but went for the move anyway. And in the end, Sivir now right ahead of the clock.
And you can be critical of the H2k comms with their bottom lane. The bottom lane functions so well, however, within itself. 2 Korean players, no hesitation to stop that play in its tracks.
And this is huge, high risk, high reward for Karsa. Again, he sacrificed 3 buff for this. He got 3 buff by the Ivern to set up this gank, and it goes terribly wrong.
Oh, it feels so bad to watch. He flashes, but the auto attack animation has started from Che. The staggering blow is guaranteed. And at that point, the most he could hope for is a 1-for-1. That's a start H2k fans have to be happy with.
And that's Karsa on the back foot. He is such a key member for Flash Wolves and putting them in the driver's seat. Trying to be aggressive on Jankos here, but you know, just happens to find Jankos before he's had that back, before he's healed up. So trying to abuse this tiny window where he's still okay.
Has been moving in, trying to protect the camp. At least give a little bit over. Karsa has been the carry, but he may just get caught out here. More damage moving in. Trigger Seed is down. I don't know if they can win the 2v2. Maple there to back him up. Fevabit doesn't care about the Syndra. He's gonna grab one. Maple taking damage on the back half. Karsa, what are you doing?
Featherman just straight up styled on them as well. 2v1, he sidesteps the scatter of the weak and just, I don't care, continues forward and picks up a kill.
And we talked about the late game. We talked about waiting for H2k to come online, the fear of this Sivir, but the early game is going so well, and this is just like the last game. It is Flash Wolves trying to make plays, and those plays being turned against them.
But again, H2k have never really had a problem when they're reacting to teams' mistakes. They are incredibly punishing because we know that they are talented players. We see Featherman making these plays on this big stage. It's when they're proactive that I'm still very hesitant.
All is not lost, however. Decent CS lead for Betty on the bottom side of the map. Maybe he can be the big factor moving forward. The Jhin in trouble, though. Betty gets locked up. Not the positive trade that they wanted.
Trading in this wave also not advised. Big cannon wave, so that's obviously why Che wants to pull the trigger right there. Immediately the cannon turned aggro.
Karsa could get caught out again. That's the speed buff. Karsa's running for dear life, but Fevin's on the way in. Realm Orb comes out. He's gonna try to find Karsa. Maple gets locked up, Maple cleanses, but it's a little bit too late. Not gonna be enough, but can they get Shay in return? Karsa's on the front lines, he's looking for blood. The body blocks are coming out. More members on the way, Febiven's locked up, Trigger Seed goes in. Febiven not gonna give his life quite yet. Karsa not gonna get it on the back half of end of the line. Maple flashes, but he doesn't get anything back.
And again, Flash Wolves expend so much and get nothing. Febiven, another great performance to make sure that Che gets out alive.
These plays are so close. Flash Wolves holding on to lives, turning back the play against the side of H2k, but it's MMD now. He's getting aggressive on the top side, trying to make a difference for the team, but all he's giving him is pressure. Flash Wolves just cannot do anything with it.
And now we have to look back towards Karsa. Where is he going to go? What is he going to try to save on this map? Because right now, they've got multiple summoners down. Maple is a huge target right now on that Syndra, low mobility. She does have a bit of safety that if you try to gank her, if she nails the stun on either the jungler or the mid laner, can, you know, push up a little bit aggressively, but he's been missing those skill shots. He's against hard CC lockdown by both targets.
And this, I mean, this guy was the king of the jungle for so much of the early tournament. Even in Poland, even where we thought Jankos would reign supreme, it was Karsa who was coming out on top again and again, but now, almost too desperate to make these plays, trying to force something early, trying to build a lead for the side of Flash Wolves, and it's just not working out, but he's not done.
He may not be strong, but trying to use Maple's strength on the Syndra. Invading while that ult cooldown is up and stealing away the blue.
Yeah. Good steal overall.
I mean, ultimately, Syndra's going to peak earlier than the Rise. Everyone knows about the scaling itemization, but it's also Syndra's passive, allowing her to beat people to the punch. So this level 7 quite threatening and gives a little bit of power back in Karsa's pocket.
Good to have Maple eagerly waiting for the level 9. Hoping to get the Morella Nomicon finished up, maybe being able to one-shot Febiven if the opportunity arises.
But here we go, trying to punish the fact that they know both summoners are down. Will Maple fall for it? He's got 3 people looking at his lane.
Oh, here's an Echo. He goes on to Jankos, but Daisy's coming in. Parallel convergence, slowing him up. Flash Wolves rotating around the map, consistently looking to contest with multiple members, but consistently not finding any advantages.
Now moving for Deep Vision. It is a Mountain Dragon to start. That said, no one should be looking too early at it, but both teams very keen to continue to skirmish and fight.
Well, no stranger to that. Odawane moves back up, looks to continue to apply the pressure, but the rest of the map is really where we have to keep our attention. His top lane's being ignored. Pings coming out from both sides. Either one with perfect setup on this Mountain Drake. This fight's actually getting a little bit more intense than we expected. Z-Drive Resonance procs.
He can...
Omne ults.
I mean, the threat of the dive is still very scary while Chrono Break is up.
Has to be careful once it gets below that 30% health threshold. Start to get the execute coming in on the parallel conversions passive. Jankos, though, there on the top side of the map. If he tries to force the dive, he will get punished, but has vision of Jankos. Knows better than to risk anything there. MMD not going to offer the Proto Belt early, gets the Bomby Cinder. Wants to keep up in the tanky stat department.
Also will help him push. Oh, also, okay, yeah, going for the straight Sunfire, so not the AP Echoes that we've seen kind of come back into meta. Still looking for that very traditional tank Echo.
Interesting to see. Bot lane Swifty Boots have come out for Betty. You can see the gold difference just slightly in favor of H2k across just about every lane. Jungle being a major difference in the favor of H2k. Swordart stepping pretty far forward here. Hook's gonna connect. That's not what they wanted. Depth charge going in. He's Swordart gonna run for his life. Betty exhausted. Here comes Jankos. Oh, there's the Green Father moving in, the friend of the forest, but MMD's on the way in. Odawame's gonna cancel the TP. That's just what they wanted. Not gonna find any kills quite yet. Looking for it. Betty with the curtain call up and available.
Would probably use that to clear the incoming wave. Yep, just to make sure that they can't continue to push through here with 2 members, but great block.
I've seen this one before. They set up in the brush. They look to break the first tower. Get the tower first blood bonus. Daisy's here as well to tank this up.
In response, though, Flash Wolves do have control of the top side, are trying to trade here. They're currently winning the race.
Creep wave breaks, but Karsa just does way too much damage to the tower. MMD far too happy to tank. It's actually Flash Wolves who are going to get the tower first blood. They're evening up the gold. Slow, steady siege from H2k means they're going to find the lead once again, but Flash Wolves coming out on the better end of that trade.
Ultimately, though, because it's the bottom tower that goes down, as long as H2k can reset this wave, they want to push it into the tower, then reset the positioning, they can exploit this bottom wave and get control over the dragon. And it's still a very valuable dragon in that mountain.
Happy to have it. Of course, Ivern can set up the sieges anyway. You have decent damage coming out of the Rise, coming out of the Sivir, and Mountain Drake would make them a much more lethal threat. Normally would not be able to compete with the Baron pressure that Flash Wolves provide. Mountain may make it that much easier. Maple with the level 9 point. Transcendence will make sure that those spheres stick around a little longer, set up for those more powerful ultimates. But the Merc Treads are already coming out from Febiven. He's just going to get more and more tanky as we move forward.
And now the question is kind of where do they sit their lane assignments? You see that Nuclear and Che are actually walking back towards the bottom side of the map as opposed to going mid. And Karsa actually looking to start up the Mountain Dragon. We could have our first 5v5 if teams opt into it.
Oh, On the Hunt going to be burned. They don't want a 5v5. They want to lock down Betty. That's going to be good. Staggering Blow moves in. Boomerang Blade on the backside. Nuclear shields up. Doesn't even need it, though. Gonna drop Febiven. Has to be careful. Maple's locked down. Looking for the 1v1. Karsa providing a little bit of extra damage. Flash Wolves have to back off, though. Dragon still aggroed. Flash is coming out left and right. Febiven's not done. Locked up. Karsa's in trouble. Does have to... Ooh, not even going to get to use the ultimate. Clean play coming in from Febiven.
And just frankly, a huge mistake from Karsa to think that he could walk confidently in front of the Rise. Febiven continuing to punish. And now that's a pick on the bottom lane as well as the Mountain Drake picked up, pick in mid lane, and they've got inside priority on mid with a wave crashing.
They've almost got a 2K gold lead as well. 3 members stand under the tower, but it's 5 members strong on the side of H2k. Ready to dive. MMD, he wants to leap in. He wants to lock up the creep wave. Rush making it all too hard to siege. Syndra throws out Daisy, and nothing else is going to happen.
And we've seen this before. Yes, they had the 5 members, but H2k, if it's anything like game number 1, they're going to be hesitant to look to dive. Echo still had the ultimate. Syndra still had ult as well as Scatter the Weak. Just too dangerous at this point and this early in the game. So we take a look at this bottom lane play. Betty shouldn't be there. Basically just gets run down by the Sivir ult. Pretty cut and dry. The big thing then is that Febiven is actually able to distract and pull Karsa and Maple off the Dragon.
The Dragon just continues to hit them as well. Almost insult to injury, chipping away at the health. Speed this one up a bit. We just gotta watch Febiven close out this kill on the end. Level 9 to level 7. Karsa falling so far behind in that jungle XP. They are gonna grab a tower back, or at least look to for now. Ult onto Sword Art, moving forward, is gonna get locked up by the Deadly Flourish. Not gonna find much more, but Sword Art's right in the face of the Rise. Febiven's grabbing another one. Karsa's waiting and baiting in the brush, but I don't think anything else is gonna happen there.
Hold on, Sivir coming down in River.
Forward.
Also Realm Warp.
Realm Warp going over the wall. Karsa's caught out. Che all alone. Che may get locked down here, but MMD's on the backside. Che goes down. Curtain Call comes out. Febiven's gonna need some fancy footwork. MMD slowing him up, grabbing the shield as well. Febiven just barely making it out in time. Flash Wolves now with priority on the bottom side.
But poor Che, the sacrificial lamb, as well as, like you said, Flash Wolves having priority this tower. Jankos does have Brush, but does not have Daisy.
Well, MMD still with the ultimate available as well. Means there's no real kill pressure there. Deadly Flourish gonna lock him up. Oh, Maple using the brush against him. Nice movement from Jankos. Scuttle Crab. MVP for H2k. What perfect positioning to work in their favor.
Oh, and the tower falls in the end. What a crazy play from Jankos. I've never seen that before.
Scuttle Crab, taxi service. Happy to have, as Odo is going to break a tower as well. So the gold lead going to be maintained by H2k for now. This is much bigger. Crosscrown, when we looked at this game, we said, oh, it's Flash Wolves who are going to be in control in the early game. Flash Wolves, we're going to have priority, but H2k really taking this one.
When we go back and look at this, so Che just immediately walks to the front line. He's the support Nautilus, but still so tanky this early in the game.
And
pushes forward.
A bit of a misclick on the exhaust there. Exhaust Che instead of Febiven. Both models stacked on top of each other. Rough occurrence.
And unfortunately gets stuck in the Realm Warp. Not exactly where he wanted to be. Febiven leaves him, sees that the teleport is coming in from MMD. And at this point, Febiven, even though the bullets connect, he's just so tanky, as well as good rotation from Jankos, that MMD doesn't want anything to do with that Rise under tower.
Yeah, it's rough. Small issues there in the fight. But at the end of the day, Flash Wolves get 1 kill back, and they're holding on well for now. Maple still farming comfortably, small lead for himself. Top side still being pressured by the Echo.
And you would think at this point that Flash Wolves want to break the mid tower. You see the assist pings coming down from H2k. They've got the same idea that they need to start getting people in position because you're just waiting effectively for that Gen ultimate and that Syndra pressure when they approach the structure to threaten you off of it. But still, trying to dive Maokai, Ivern, Nautilus is a big task to fill.
Currently, Odoamne getting back to his roots, pretending to be a brush there. Now moving forward onto Karsa, aggressive engage. On the hunt comes out. Karsa's actually caught up here. Depth charge goes in and down drops Karsa. The mobility from H2k is insane.
And this is the thing, H2k called Flash Wolves play. They're going to congregate mid. They want to push down this tower. Let's look for a flank. And the vision that has been so strong from Flash Wolves this entire tournament has failed them as Odo is continuously getting underneath it and finding these key picks. Suddenly the tempo changes, and where Flash Wolves were trying to threaten H2k's mid-tier tower, it's theirs that falls.
H2k continue to build a gold lead, 2.8 in their favor, almost 3K. Now just gonna smite it up, get a little bit of vision. So far ahead that they can even afford the luxury of taking down the Rift Herald.
And the question is who gets it. You would assume it would be Odo at this case. Send Maokai out into a side lane.
Normally Echo the guy who comes out on top in a lot of those duels, but a little extra damage may make it turn against him. Past the point in the early game where those base ratios really move in favor of Echo.
And it's so great anytime you get Rift Herald this late in the game just because it is such a long duration buff. Hopefully
38 minutes before that one will expire.
Hopefully they'll be able to close out before then for the crowd's enjoyment, but keep our tabs on when it falls off and how much it will assist Maokai in this 1v1 lane assignment across from Echo.
Oh, Scryer's Bloom. Carson wants to find himself safe in the jungle, but doesn't get the angle quite right. Isn't going to spot the wards out in the end. Flash Wolves now setting up in the mid lane.
Setting up for the dragon, really, and trying to find a pick with their composition.
Okay, Jay, I see you.
No, everyone likes a little bit of a dance battle.
BM a day keeps the doctor away. So.
A little bit of a giggle.
MD moves down, Flash Wolves grouping around the mid lane. They are ready to fight.
Yeah, where Flash Wolves have really kind of dropped the ball on their flanking vision, letting Odo set up these flanks. H2k have not. Their flanking vision is much better this game, constantly catching MMD as he's making these rotations and smartly disengaging and absorbing a lot of the time from Flash Wolves. And so MMD's constantly, rotating down, looking for the play, not getting it, wasting time, and then having to go back topside to clear these waves, which give H2k inside track on Dragon.
H2k looking to take control, and Flash Wolves, they've been the team with brilliant vision priority earlier in the tournament, but it's just not amounting to enough right now. Bevan thinks he's checked the push.
Nope.
People just gonna back off. Doesn't have quite enough damage, not quite enough spheres ready. Exhaust available for Fevin as well, just couldn't afford to take the risk. Flash Wolves are pressuring the lanes. They're looking to force a response here from H2k. No one.
The thing is that the dragon isn't the high priority here. It's only a cloud dragon, so it's not like there's onus on H2k to immediately try to gobble that one up anytime they have the opportunity. It's more about this vision game. It's more about this minion wave. The cloud dragon is simply the arena or the stage that once it's set properly could be very punishing in other areas against Flash Wolves.
Well, we hit the stage in a bush. The dragon's set to fall. Yanko's looking for a way over the wall, but he may just get locked up. They grab it in the end. H2k pulling back. Daisy still on the front lines, tanking up what she can. Gonna get knocked away. Gonna see the disengage come out as H2k back off, Cloud Dragon in hand.
Hold on though, check where Rise is and check where MMD is.
Moving for it, Featherman. There's Maple over the wall. Maybe now he wants to find the 1v1. Featherman misses the first shot, looking to land the overloads. Snare gonna connect. He's just gonna back off. Knows he has no need to risk the fight.
He's just too tanky to deal with. He's got both of his summoners up and available. You wouldn't expect anyone to die right there, as well as Maple having the cleanse available. But if MMD also gets involved, which now that he's been spotted out, it gives Febiven the go-ahead to back up.
Goes in, gets the extended snare, maybe looking to dish out a bit more damage. Trigger Seed goes down, Phase Dive comes out, MMD gonna walk away.
The rest of Flash Wolves also rotating over.
Pulling back, Odoamne pressuring on the top side, both teams dodging in and out of these fights, not looking to commit to much of anything.
The thing that we want to commit to now is the mid tower and the top tower. So someone needs to reset the wave and kind of deal with the obnoxious things that MMD are doing there, constantly pushing it forward. But H2k, they want to move into that blue side Flash Wolves jungle. Pings go down for Baron. Flash Wolves are thinking the same thing. It's now a question of who's going to get there first and set up their vision.
Yeah, you talk about the Baron dance. It's time for it to start. See who's going to lead this time around, who's going to follow.
And the thing is normally a composition with Syndra would be absolutely punishing if they get the vision here first, just because you have that big high pick potential. But who honestly do you kill on H2k's composition? Any of those champions can face check into a dark area. Even Sivir, if she's good enough with her spell shield.
I think it's less about the spell shield and more about the Ivern and 1,000 extra health that can be given to her at any moment. And this is that. I mean, this is the terrifying thing. This is why EU teams have prioritized this pick so much in the past. Is everyone on your team is a pseudo tank. When you've got that Ivern, you've got all that additional shielding. So it's Che now who's going to get caught out. Flashes to safety.
Deep teleport from MMD in the mid lane.
Oh, maybe looking to get a little bit more. Jankos running for his life. Daisy comes out. Nuclear dishing out decent damage. Here comes the redemption. Sword Art locked up. Odoamne's on the backside. Maple gets knocked up by Daisy. Curtain call's coming out. Daisy's set to drop. Febiven going to take one. MMD's all alone in the middle of the meat grinder, but snaps back. Hits up on a Nuclear, trying to cut through Che. Flashing out to safety. Rukar connects. In goes Daisy. In goes Nuclear. No one going to fall quite yet. Febiven is overstepped, though. He wants Betty so bad, but he's not going to get it. Has to pull back. Odoamne now buying time. Hoping to get out of this one, but he's locked up. Now he wants to go back in. Flash in from Nuclear. Flash out from the side of Flash Wolves. Moving forward, down he goes. Crit comes in. All too easy for Betty, and it's just kills traded back and forth.
2-for-1 trade favor for Flash Wolves. Unfortunately, kind of a split fight. We have criticisms of H2k of this in the past, that their 5v5 doesn't look as clean as it could. This composition is a bit easier to execute just because it's kind of that big tanky frontline run at you. But if your line of scrimmage isn't set, if your tanks ever get separated, that's when problems can arise. And what should have been kind of a 5v5 really kind of turned into a 1v3 at points for various teams. So Odo dives a bit too deep, and yes, the Maokai is huge, and yes, they're able to take the Karsa, but Febiven is so far away from everyone, and he's taking so much time before he's relevant again in this fight and trying to find Maple. And then he kind of gets greedy, overextends, flashes, tries to burst Betty.
And it's beautiful kiting coming in from the side of Flash Wolves. Patience on the play. 3 very vulnerable members who, through one misstep, could have died, but they play it well in the end.
And it's the fact that they kind of turtle and cover their flanks, that they seem much more cohesive in kind of these smaller skirmishes or in their team members fitting together around the fight.
And we talk about the duo of Karsa and Maple, but looks like the entire team fitting together when it comes to those small-scale skirmishes, those split-up team fights. And for now, both teams continue the dance, moving around the Baron, looking for a way in.
And now we're looking at item breakpoints as well. So should be noted that Betty's pretty massive, has the Ghost Blade, has the Edge of Night, whereas Nuclear is still looking for that third item. And this is kind of the issue with Sivir and the current pool of AD carries, is that she doesn't really get anything out of the lethality itemization. She has really late breakpoints. She takes a long time to scale up. Just there for that utility, which is why he went the Essence Reaver route, but does have dual potential because it's not static Shiv. He went for the Phantom Dancer, so I like that aspect, but fairly dangerous to step up to this composition and not have something like the Rapid Fire Cannon to help you out a little bit, because yeah, Sivir can hit the front line and it can crit the back line, but not yet.
Waiting time. Not going to get the luxury of that single long-range auto to maybe dish out a decent amount of poke. Febiven going in. Maple throws it in, but it might be a little bit too late. Out comes the redemption. Febiven wants a little bit more. Overlords dropping left and right. Defiance used by the Karma, rather, just to make it out safely.
Dragon spawning in 30 seconds, so while these teams have been so focused over this Baron area and just seeing, you know, who's going to get picked off first or who's going to fail in the 5v5, Vision might start to move down towards the bottom side. Still have to be very careful that you never drop the ball in that Baron pit. Incredibly dangerous, especially against Flash Wolf's composition with all of those damage threats.
Of course, Scuttle Crab is in favor of H2k now, so they're reasonably comfortable, especially on the red side. Not to worry about the Baron. They are just running right down to that pit, setting up the vision there.
And that confidence that they can run into these dark zones again because it is such a tanky composition. You know, Che on this support Nautilus doesn't have to be as tentative face checking as you would the Misfortunes or the Zyras of the world. And here comes the Death Brush.
a little bit something. MMD leaves it. Deadly Flourish going to connect onto Otawamne. Decent damage. Curtain Call comes out on the backside. One shot goes into Daisy, thrown back into the team, getting cut down by the Curtain Call as well. We'll get burned through. One less ult in the favor of H2k, but...
And that virtually did no damage. It was well blocked by Odo and Jankos, but again, even if that tags Che or even Febivin, still absorbing so much with how much health and how much resistances this composition has.
H2k now backing off. They're looking for the mid lane priority instead of the Dragon. Parallel convergence. MMD leaps in, not gonna find the stun. Blue collar goes wide as well, but it's MMD who's locked up, still has the ult, still can't snap back. Looks to get a bit of damage down. All comes out from Nuclear, and it's Maple on the side. Just looking for an opportunity, but the team knows he's there, and they're playing around the Syndra ranges.
MMD uses the ultimate, loses all of his health. He does have teleport, so if they want to fight for this, he can come back in. But then you give up your TP match for a Dragon instead of a Baron. And that's not where you want to be at 27 minutes in the game, but he does it anyway.
Indeed he does. Now looking to force the fight, but there's not a ton of vision for Flash Wolves. Otawamne's waiting in the pit. He doesn't care about tanking the Dragon. He's looking for the setup. Maple's all alone, and Otawamne's just walking in on the front line, back into the back line now. Realm Warp's coming out. Who's going to get delivered? H2k not going to take it. Slow burn comes in. Back comes out from Otawamne. Know that they have the TP advantage now. Frostborn, it feels like another death by 1,000 cuts. They see a small advantage. They have the opportunity. They can take the Dragon. Maybe rather take the fight or look for the fight. But instead they back off. They take just the TP away from that.
Flash Wolves lost control over their bottom side, so even if they wanted to try to take the inside track on the mid tower, because they burned so many cooldowns, not effectively re-engaging, they had to respect that H2k would then just flank them if they pushed mid. So they lose Dragon, they lose mid priority, they might lose MMD here.
On the hunt, Maple trying to disengage. Nice ult coming in. MMD snaps back into the backline. Curtain Call's going out, but you talked about it. It's just not doing the damage it needs to. They move into the choke point. Otawamne hesitating for a moment, not sure if he needs to go in, but Flash Wolves and the mid lane tower in their sights.
This is brave to step up.
MMD's locked up again. Doesn't have the luxury of the escape. Slowly but surely, Boomerang Blade connects. Too many tanks in the team fight for anyone to die.
But the thing is yes, there are too many tanks, but ultimately the damage still can't reach any of Flash Wolves' members. They can't make the most out of the zone control that the Ivern, the Maokai, and the Nautilus are providing.
Yeah, I agree, audience. That was crazy. Rise wave clear. Oof. Not as pretty on 3 creeps, but on like 40, oof.
That feel when Rise's wave clear and his adjustments were moved off of his ultimate, so he can spam it much earlier.
That's a trend. LeBlanc has the same thing now. It is,
Let's just give everyone wave
I would
clear.
say it's a less than positive experience. Maple taking out his previous teamfight Daisy aggression on the Booba. I mean, honestly, it's just, once again, both teams looking for the setup. H2k slowly finding bigger and bigger advantages. 3K gold lead, double Mountain Drake and Infernal. Looks really good for them overall.
But there is that window where MMD doesn't have the teleport. And again, anytime we get into the Baron dance, we get into the Baron setup, everyone knows about, you know, you got to place your vision, you got to sweep everything away.
Jay. Ooh, nice knockback. Redemption, Locket, both going to get used. No one going to get tagged by the root collar.
But you also need to make sure that your side waves are prepped. And with TP advantage, H2k get the window to do that, but it's something that they failed for the majority of this tournament on. I'd like to see it turn around more. And the reason why is if you have all of your waves pushing and you go into a 5v5, if you lose that 5v5, you don't just lose all of your map. The team has to only take that advantage and then reset the rest of the map.
Yanko's moving forward. Out goes the root collar. Hits Betty. Not going to follow it. Is going to follow it. Daisy's up as well. Yankos is getting lower and lower. That's not the fight that you wanted. This is the moment. The Flash Wolves cannot find the shots. Body blocks come out waiting. MMD doing his best to disrupt, but now he's in the middle of the team. 4-shot connects. He gets popped before he can snap back. Realm Warp comes out. Fevin not going to take it, but Otawamne is waiting for the edge of night. Saving the lives of so many members on the side of Flash Wolves.
And we said that this is where Flash Wolves can be exploited. MMD versus Odo. He steps forward. He doesn't even get to use his ultimate. Just gets instantly popped right into a Rise snare.
Brutal to watch. And the sheer amount of CC on this composition is so hard for them to deal with. But H2k, with a member down, with a second tower dropping in the mid lane, they have priority on the Baron.
And the problem is that their primary initiation tool in the Jhin ultimate doesn't even mean anything because Maokai just stands in front of it. So they have to rely entirely on MMD being that initiation tool, and he's just too fragile. He can't do anything.
He just doesn't have the hard CC to back it up either. Team doesn't have to stand still and wait for the parallel convergence. They have the mobility, Frosker, and they have all the options to get out of this.
And again, all eyes on MMD. So this looks scary at first. You know, Jankos maybe taking the taxi ride that he didn't want, but it's okay because MMD's here to save the day. He's going to come forward, and Febiven's just going to snare him up, and he's going to pop because of the CC chain before the ultimate can come through. Then Odo will take the Realm Warp there, but fortunately not able to catch anyone else.
Yeah, hesitates for a split second on snaring Karsa. Doesn't seize the edge of night. Hesitates for a moment, means Karsa will make it out. But 0-5-1 scoreline for the all-star jungler on the side of Flash Wolves.
And the cool thing about Ivern is how cheap his itemization is for how he gets to be tanky, because he itemizes into the support, redemption, and locket.
And I mean, you can see he's got a sizable gold lead. Well, not super sizable, 700 over Karsa, but it's a good place to be for him now. Ruby Sightstone comes out for him, so they just guaranteedly have the vision advantage. Once again, normally we praise Flash Wolves for being the vision-focused team, but H2k are stepping up.
But they don't have the teleport advantage. Odo used it, which kind of puts a bit more pressure on them right now to look for a pick to find the 5v5 or to force the dragon, because they don't have control over bottom wave.
Edge Knight comes out, Karsa goes over the wall, captive audience, Deadly Flourish rather, not gonna connect. Out comes the ultimate from Sivir. Daisy just getting knocked back.
Someone will have to deal eventually with this bottom wave. That tower is very healthy, but it's stacking quite favorably in Flash Wolf's side. Again, Odo still waiting for that teleport cooldown.
Jankos potentially caught out. Maybe moving forward, Jankos taking a decent amount of damage. Out comes the redemption. Febiven is all alone, but doesn't feel comfortable approaching quite yet. Curtain Call goes out. Realm Warp may take him in, and he's in the middle of the team now. He has to flash back to safety. Uses the Seraph's Embrace, still gets dropped. This could be bad. MMD is now in the back line. Beautiful use of the ultimate, but for now, H2k disengaged. Nuclear, the last remaining damage source. Slowly but surely chipping them down as they try to kite backwards. Depth charge knocking up a few members, but it's Flash Wolves' fight in the end.
But is that enough confidence to start the Baron? MMD going over the wall says yes, but H2k know exactly what's happening, and they've got a lot of members and a lot of health to stall this out.
Level 14 for Jankos as well. He has the edge on the smite. Shay's gonna go in. Nuclear on the backside, parallel convergence. But Betty now on a killing spree. H2k staying around so long in this fight, they can't cut down any member of the team. Odoame's getting chunked down. He's below 30% health. He's going to get dropped as well. Nuclear pops on the hunt as it comes up. But they stop Flash Wolves from taking the Baron for now.
And finally, the 3-item Syndra, level 16, has enough damage that she's starting to cut through these members. Likewise, Betty, very big on this Jhin now. Before, where the tanks seemed untouchable, they're now starting to crumble.
Have to keep an eye, too, if it's an Infinity Edge next. What item will come in to make this easier? Sword Art. Playing with fire there.
So we go ahead and take a look at this. MMD gets a good flank, and so finally the Echo gets into a backline, and his team, more importantly, is able to follow up. Betty sets up also nice on a good angle for the Jhin ultimate, and it's all eyes now on Betty and Maple. They got their front line in front of them. They've already chunked out H2k as well as picked off key members, and they're just walking through with the Syndra and Jhin.
Enough of a front line to block out there, and with one damage threat taken down, which is not a whole lot you can do.
Nice thing is, yes, H2k go down. Yes, now you're starting to see the big damage of, 5 damage dealing composition, but they do stop the Baron.
Oh no, Che. They get caught out again. Max range hook to make it to safety. This is the Baron dance. No one's taken it quite yet.
But this time around, Odo has the teleport. They did take care of the bottom side wave. Yes, MMD can match it because he also has his TP, and there's also the dragon to play over. So we're not just completely funneled into only making this back and forth volley over Baron.
But it's that Ocean Drake, Frosker, and you talk about it, the later we get in the game, the less relevant it really can be unless you start to stack them up. Maybe not the best place for them to fight. Maybe not the arena they're looking for. Yanko's stunned up. Yanko's locked up. Is there enough damage here? Slowly burning. I'm just waiting for the flash in. I'm waiting for the Syndra ultimate. And of course, Ivern, when we look at it, not a pick that we see in the LMS very much at all. And yet, despite that, Flash was playing very patiently around the surprise tankiness that he can bring to the table with that locket, with that redemption.
The scary thing is that Flash Wolves do not have the luxury that H2k do to face check blindly into a scenario. So H2k are all sitting on the Baron pit. They have vision control over it, and now it's just kind of that guessing game.
Oh, and Brushmaker comes out. Baron's still in vision, however, but team now set up to take it. Karsa's going over the wall. Can he steal it? Jankos, who's going to win the Smite War? Jankos in the end. They lock up Karsa. He's caught in the pit. Sword Art could be next to follow, but Karsa's managing to make it out. Parallel convergence on the backside. MMD can't follow it up. H2k are peeling back. They got what they wanted. They don't want to keep forcing the fight. Flash Wolves on the hunt. MMD on the front lines. Backing off in the end. Deadly Flourish going to connect, but not going to amount to much. That's going to be Baron for H2k, and that is massive for the team.
And they disengaged successfully, and that's the key thing there. The fact that MMD decided to follow the teleport, he had the push, he had the wave behind him, bottom side. Yes, they pick up an inner, but you have to think there was an option. Flash Wolves could have just tried to stall H2k's backs after the Baron, and they might have contested for trying to chip or crack at that inhib tower, but they want the fight. And it punishes them. They don't pick up any flat or H2k members, and they lose the Baron.
5-man strong now with Baron, barreling down these lanes. This is exactly what H2k wanted. They have the Ivern to set up the sieges, the Sivir to push the waves, but are they going to be able to break the base?
But they're still dealing with that short-range Sivir in terms of their siege potential. Yes, they can be scary and threatening and have those big, you know, basically football linebackers in front of them, the Ivern, Maokai, and Nautilus, but you're dealing with much longer wave clear from Syndra as well as Jen.
Oh, Jay going forward. The creep positioned beautifully in a brush to make sure that no one can kill it. On the hunt, buying a bit of time. Odoamne continues to press it on the top side. He remains uncontested, and Flash Wolves trying to force a man advantage here. H2k see it, they back off. They're not looking for the fight. Odoamne's breaking the top side tower.
Yeah, just looking for time for Maokai here. And again, MMD doesn't have the teleport, so he needs to pick. Are we looking for the flank? Are we going to try to force a 5v4 on the bottom side, or am I going top side? And this indecisiveness is going to cost them objectives.
And once again, you have to be willing to pull the trigger. We saw it from Flash Wolves last game. It's coming up again. They don't want to look for the fight. They keep setting up for it, but they will not look for the engage.
And even worse, because they set up on a ward. So losing even more valuable time here as now Febvin grabs the mid wave.
1-3-1 coming in. Febvin trying to push forward. Jankos making brush everywhere. No point in his click skill is going to come out there. Odoamne moving forward. MMD on the side flank. Sivir continues to push in on the bottom as well. Things look good for H2k.
I think this is absolutely the right call. Just kind of smother them with all the waves. Keep pulling Flash Wolves around the map. They're not being decisive. And even if they are decisive, they don't necessarily have the engage tools to really follow up.
On the hunt, burned. Baiting to start the fight. Febvin in the mid lane, Odoamne on the top. Jankos potentially in trouble. Out comes the redemption. Double redemption to come in as well. Jankos just healing up.
But all they have to do is absorb all of this. Again, these are big key cooldowns. And meanwhile, H2k are still applying pressure in multiple waves. Odo in the top side.
Heal comes out as well. Maybe not the trade that H2k wanted, but not losing any members in the exchange either. They're giving up for now and pushing in to break an inhibitor line, but they've gotten some decent damage down.
Yeah, just deciding that they want to use up kind of the last ticks of that empowered recall to quickly make a reset here. Could look towards the Ocean Drake. Again, 30, 40 minutes into the game. Not necessarily the best.
You also have double mount, so Febvin's just going to quite easily solo this one out. Also a level 18 rise.
But this is a huge swing of control for H2k.
So much vision that they can now lay down in the enemy jungle. For now, it's focused on that siege, but they're going to be free to walk into that jungle whenever they want. They push those waves forward as the minions give them more vision for themselves. Betty has to pop the Yomus just to run away from Jankos. The rest of the team in tow.
The thing is there's so much, I don't want to call it non-committal CC because it's really only Jay, but so much engage tools from H2k that they can pick exactly when they want to fight. And if they mess it up, they can just wait the 9 seconds, wait for those multiple cooldowns, and then just try again. Whereas Flash Wolves don't have that luxury. You're really only looking at the Echo or the Syndra because the Jhin ultimate is not meaning anything for them.
Yeah, far too easy to body block. Flash Wolves trying to set up a bit of an exchange here.
Maple is out of position right now.
Moving to the mid lane. Yes, moved up there earlier. Maybe was hoping for a long flank, but
that's what it looked like. It looked like he was wrapping around for a flank when all of the team was bottom.
Yeah, not where you want to be. Maokai goes, okay, I'll just leave to you. That's fine.
Ultimately, not punishing though. Again, we're dancing back and forth. Didn't crack the inhib line, but waiting for that Baron to respawn. It's now a question of, with so much more tower control and map control from H2k, can they exploit maybe a vision advantage over Flash Wolves? They definitely have a very strong 5v5 comp. Sivir now has that Infinity Edge, her armor penetration as well as the QSS. So Nuclear, that much more of a damage threat that she necessarily wasn't maybe 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, solid place to be. This is the Sivir that you want to see when you make it to the late game. 500 CS just around the corner, but just a random number pick to describe that Sivir late game. She's already on that threshold, just has to finish the Mercurial before she'll be at the 6-item point. It's desperation coming in, the smoke screen comes out. Just hoping to get a bit of vision, just hoping to get a little bit more control over this jungle, but H2k aren't gonna allow it to go over. GA's now coming out as well from multiple members of the team, and it's just going to be all too difficult to get anything done.
And unfortunately, this bush camp that H2k were setting up was actually just slightly too early. Naturally, they were trying to catch Flash Wolves moving in to place down Baron Vision. It's not spawning for 1 minute 20. They were waiting on the pressure point from MMD, so while the idea is correct, it's just slightly missed on the window, but they will have another opportunity because, again, that entire side of the map is dark for Flash Wolves.
Kind of just waiting. If they can make a pick, they'll be able to get it, but they have the brushes from Ivern as well, which makes it all too easy to control the Baron area. Fog of War.
I think you just call their bluff and you just try to shove it up mid lane, force them out of the Baron area so they have to respond to the wave.
They're gonna do it for now. So they know that they're waiting in the pit. Baron's still 44 seconds away. Karth's doing his best to clear out all the lane vision there. Could not afford to get flanked on those wards.
How brave is Febiven going to be? He doesn't see everyone on the map.
Maple getting a little bit of vision for himself. Control ward will make it easier. But they're fighting tooth and nail just for a little bit of access to their own jungle. Haven't even made it to the pit yet. And Betty's now running for his life. Youmu's an Edge of Night to make it out to safety.
They could still catch someone here, however.
Febiven coming down as well. Don't want to fight the Sivir and the choke point. But don't want to fight the Graves there either. The end of the line. The Force of Will, the Scat of the Weak coming in from the Syndra.
Just posturing, just seeing who's going to slip up, who's going to step out of position.
Here comes Febiven. There's the Realm Warp. That's the engage. Jankos flashes forward. Daisy is here as well. Maple's going to get knocked up in the end, but Odoamne is the only man on the front line. Deadly Flourish comes out. Jankos and the rest of the team, they're too busy with MMD, but Karsa gets caught, and that could be big, but it's not. Karsa's still pulling back, still making it out alive. No one has dropped yet, but Jankos could be on the menu. Curtain call going in, GA coming up. Febiven flashes forward onto Maple. That's disastrous for H2k, but they're peeling back. They're pulling back. Nuclear's still alive. He's flashing, but MMD, he isn't going to be able to get it. No, GA pop. Betty flashes forward. One shot, one kill. Wants to make it a triple. Will he get the quadra as well? He's popping off. Flash Wolves gaining control.
And yes, Sivir has the itemization. She's known as that big late game carry, but also the Jhin coming through, having that fourth shot. Betty steps forward and cleans up the rest of the fight. Such an unfortunate flash from Febiven, just as he wants to go aggressive right into the Scatter of the Weak, denies a lot of the rise damage, and Flash Wolves capitalize huge on it.
H2k were set up to break the base, were set up to take the Baron, but they take the fight instead, and now it is their base that will be broken open. They were dominant, they were leading, they were set to win the game, but suddenly Flash Wolves are in control. They're gonna break an inhibitor, and they're gonna take control.
These death timers are still punishing. They're confidently going to at least try for one inhib.
For more, Karsa moving forward. They have a ton of damage here to try to break it. Shay is all alone.
They're trying to end the game.
They want to end the game. Inhibitor's getting lower. This is bad. Flash Wolves are going to take game 2. What a beautiful play.
And on the back of a single decisive team fight, the tankiness and the zoning power of H2k's composition runs out.
At the end of the day, a little too much lost there on the front of that fight, sticking around, waiting for the Jankos GA. The Echo able to consistently dive into the back line to threaten the Sivir, and just when they pop the GA, the flash forward, the auto from Jhin, the death sentence coming in from the side of Flash Wolves.
And just unfortunately, Sivir unable to shred the front line, the single guy, MMD, fast enough so that he can catch up with what his line of scrimmage is trying to set up for him.
It's insane to see MMD coming out essentially to win the team fight, backed up by Betty, but we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with the analyst desk to break that one down just a bit more.